There we go. We always got to start off on a good note, and it doesn't get more positive, much more positive than actually hitting record. Nothing's worse than going 15, 20 minutes in and realizing that we've covered some really good material, only for it to not have been recorded all along. So, Mary, good to see you. If you're available, if you're able to flip your camera on, that'd be great. We'd love to see your smiley face. Josh, within the last 7 days, what's been good? Give me some positive focus to start today's cohort call.
Well, yesterday I got to spend some quality time with my little man. He was his daycare was closed, so we loaded up, me and the dog and him, and went to visit my dad and spent some quality time with Grandpa. And it was just nice to hang out and talk life.
I love it. I love it. Mary, I don't know if you can hear us or if you are just listening in today. We always start the cohort calls off with just a positive focus. So you can either type into the chat, what's been good in your world in the last 7 days. It doesn't have to be business, could be life, like Josh mentioned. Could be a goal that you hit, could be a crushed a workout. That's always a good positive focus, but we just try to start the call off every week just with a positive note. So if you could be so kind, let us know. Again, if you're not able to, maybe you're driving, then go ahead and type into the chat when you get a minute. But I thought I'd maybe give you a shot if you're free, if you're able to.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. So I would say that we filled our basement with wood for the winter, and that was a good accomplishment. And it was exhausting, but it was good.
I was going to say that is a workout.
Maybe most people don't heat with wood anymore, but we still do that. And yeah, it was a lot of cutting and deadlifting.
That's right. That's right. Do you mind telling us a little bit more about you? Like where you live, where you work, what you do?
I'm in central Wisconsin. I'm a chiropractor. My town is Iola, and where I live, where I work, what I do, my practice is family, but I have this rehab bent that I would say I haven't necessarily sold it to my town, because it might be easier to see a PT than it is to come and see me and pay out of pocket. So I haven't quite figured out how to take this vital passion and prioritize it for them, or maybe I'm just looking for everybody to have the same goal that I have. So I guess that's why I listen to your stuff.
Oh, well, cool. I appreciate just kind of the depth of that, because that's ultimately what we're trying to do here, is try to build a community of like-minded individuals. And I also understand that I'm not for everyone, right? I was on a consulting discovery call yesterday with a private practice owner who wants to get his visits up to 200 a week. I was like, all right, that's not what I would advise, right? Like, I'm sure there's some people that would love that. Some people would jump at the chance to work with a chiro that's got those ambitions. But ultimately, that's not my style. That's not my brand of coaching. Is not for you to simply do more and to charge less. My brand of coaching is ultimately getting more from less, the exact opposite. And that means that there are people that will be in small towns that I will win over the course of a year or 2 years or 3 years, simply because I'm coming from a marketer with an angle towards human behavior. Most people are coming at it from a scarcity or from I need to pay my bills this month, so therefore I'm going to charge less and get as many people in the door as possible, which will feed you for a month. It will feed you for 6 months. And ultimately, you could practice that way for 15 to 20 years and have a decent, and you could have a good life. You could have a very successful practice doing it that way. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm simply saying that there might be a different way. And I get it. I'm not for everyone, right? And I kind of had this moment with this gentleman yesterday. Respect him, love his passion, love his enthusiasm. Just not for me. I don't think it'll work out, because I don't want him to charge less and to simply do more, right? Like, if you're a solopreneur, you actually stop growing your business when you wear every hat. If you've got to wear every hat, the business, it fundamentally cannot grow if you're doing it all yourself. So I learned how to offload one hat at a time, but that meant I needed to first learn how to market so that I could pass off my specific style of marketing. I had to pass that off to someone. So I'm in the information marketing business. There's a whole subcategory. There's a whole subcategory of marketing that is referred to as direct response marketing, that has been made famous by a guy named Dan Kennedy. Russell Brunson, the guy who founded and started ClickFunnels, has acquired Dan Kennedy's business, and now they're in more of like a partnership. But in essence, ClickFunnels is a direct response marketing business. It just gives you a tool, i.e. in the form of a landing page, that gets information into the viewer, because we're looking at a web page. It's a landing page. It's not a website. It's a landing page. And all I'm doing is I'm gathering information so that I can make a decision. And typically it's a decision to purchase. It's to opt into this book. It's to claim this free voucher. It's to, there's something that the landing page is guiding people towards an action, as opposed to a brochure. If I went to 100 chiropractors' websites, 95 of them are the same public brochure. That's all it is. It's like when I go to Starbucks, which I haven't gone to Starbucks in a long time, but they have that like bulletin, that cork board, that bulletin board that just shows the events that are going on in our community in the next month. That's in essence what your website looks like. It's like, oh, that's good to know. I see it. Oh, you're a chiropractor. You're in my town. But does the public know exactly what Mary does? Does the public know what Josh does? Does the public know what Alex does? Who does Alex specialize in treating? The public doesn't know that. You have to tell them. So how do we tell them? We tell them through our marketing message. So I said this to somebody this week, that I'm a marketer at heart, and I'm a salesman by blood. Like that's in essence, that's me. So get me in a room with someone who's got a problem or a challenge, and I will walk them alongside in order to form some type of solution, whether or not that's with me. I'm not bothered by that. I just like to problem solve and to come up with some solutions for other people. That's in essence what I do. And I think if you solve people's problems, you will always have a job. You will always have work. There will always be people that need your services. And if I go one step further here, you get paid in direct proportion to the problems you solve, period. As a CEO, if you are running a clinic and you got a problem with lead generation, and you solve that problem by creating a ton more leads that you don't fulfill on, but your team fulfills on them, you get paid for solving the problem, which was lead generation. If you got a sales team and they're really struggling with conversions, and you step in and solve the problem of conversions, you get paid in direct proportion to the problems that you solve. Now, how do our associates, or how do we, when we're treating a patient, how do we get paid? It's in the doing. It's in the servicing of the client. It's in the treatment that we're providing. So if you solve back pain, you get paid in direct proportion to back pain. If you solve that's a surface level problem, by the way. Back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain, physical pain, it's a surface level problem, which means you can only charge surface level prices. I think, Josh, you've heard me say this on almost every call. But if you solve the internal emotional driver of why someone is seeking care to begin with, they will throw money at you, because it's not back pain anymore. It's back pain that's preventing me from playing 18 rounds of golf. It's back pain that's preventing me from getting on the ground and wrestling my 9-year-old because he just needs some dad time. If I can't get on the ground and wrestle my boy, and I don't have that meaningful moment with my son, I'm missing out on valuable and meaningful time. In which case, the alternative to which, I don't want to pay that price. I don't want to pay the price of not having a meaningful relationship with my son. So if your marketing says, we get people out of pain fast, you cannot complain that when people get out of pain, they don't follow up with you. They don't come back for follow-up appointments, because your messaging tells people how to interact with your business. So I would first go to your websites, just to kind of go full circle here. I'd first look at your website. After your website, I would then really take a deeper dive into what is the message you're conveying when you give public talks, when you post things on social media? What is the message that you're conveying? And if it's a message to everyone, it's really a message to no one. I want to know, not to be edgy, but I want to know that you definitely know your stuff when it comes to my problem. And if that's the case, you will have a very busy and successful practice of people that want to do business with you, right? It's the difference between someone calling up and saying, how much for an adjustment? And someone calling you up and saying, Josh, how much do I have to pay to work with you? I've seen the stuff. I've heard you talk at the workshop you did. I've seen your book. I've seen your website. My goodness, and these 3 people that I know and love and respect, they all vouch for you. They're all heaping, mad praises about you, even though you don't take their insurance. I'm willing to pay my hard-earned money and not use my insurance simply because I think that you're the guy. How much will it cost me to work with you? And you're like, it will be $200 a session. Great. I'm going to get my result. I'm going to get the outcome that I want, even though it's going to cost me $200 because I'm getting more than $200 worth of care. I hope that's helpful to hear as we start off with a bang. Mary, is that helpful?
Sure. Always good to be thinking.
That's right. That's right. There's a time and a place to think. There's a time and a place to strategize. And then there's just a time and a place to do it. Right.
I knew the doing was going to come next. I knew you were
There's always a do. There's always a do. And I put this on, I don't know where I put this, maybe it was on social media, but LinkedIn, top 10% characteristic of people on LinkedIn, strategy. The top 10% I should rephrase that, the most frequent characteristic of people on their LinkedIn profile. And you can nominate people, you could mention things about them, right? Strategist, either someone who, thinks a strategy or someone who's literally a strategist. Top 10% most frequently attributed characteristic of an individual on LinkedIn. The bottom 1%, operators. We got a whole lot of people thinking, whole lot of people strategizing, very few people actually doing. Okay, so that's one thing. I'll start us off with today's kind of a Q&A. So I've got that's my rant for today. But I've got a couple of questions that people have messaged in regarding Q&A. I hope either Mary or Josh, you guys have a question to kind of steer us maybe in a little bit. But I think I'll read a first question and I'll dive in a little bit to the answer because I think it's a really good question. And so here's the first question I wanted to go over, which is it worth it to start a personal brand when starting out from scratch? So where this question is coming from is from a New Cairo member of ours who is trying to niche down, like I advised him to do, and coached him along the way to do that. And what is interesting is he has a characteristic and he's got some swagger to it, right? So his question to me was, is it worth it now to start a personal brand? And my answer to him was, it depends on if you want to first start with width or depth. And this comes from really the marketing aspect of, do you have a unique sales proposition, a USP? Is what you're offering like Seth Godin's book, which is like a purple cow, right? Does your offer stand out that by itself, it intrigues people? So a good friend of mine named Charlie, Charlie's in Nashville now. He was in Southern California, was running was a clinic manager of a very successful holistic alternative medicine style clinic. And people were flying from different countries to come get treated at this clinic. It was pretty special what they were doing with some chronic pain. And he left it. I think he was making well into the mid 6 figures that he was making at this clinic. And he left it. People are telling him, oh, you're crazy. Why would you leave that? That's such a cush job in a beautiful Southern California. And he left it. He went to Nashville and he opened up his own place. And what he did was he chose depth to start. He only posted on Instagram. That's it, to start. He picked one platform, Instagram, and went all in on it. He started speaking to patients with chronic pain. That's it. He started talking about his experience of working with patients with chronic pain. So therefore, people can't really refute what he was talking about because he would say, in my experience in dealing with, fungal infections or yeast infections or mold and toxins and all that stuff. He would just say in his experience, right? But what happened was he started developing a huge following on Instagram. And his first account actually, got banned, believe it or not. And then his second account, so it's called Dr. Charlie 2.0. That's his Instagram handle. He's well over 100,000 people now. And from his 100,000 people, he launched a membership site. And it's, $30, $40 a month. I think it's $40 a month. And last time I checked with him, he had between 10 and 13,000 members, active members every month that were a part of his membership. Now he records videos on particular topics and then puts them up on his platform, right? And my mother-in-law sent me a text and was like, I'm interested in becoming a member of Dr. Charlie's. I'm like, do it. Do it. Like, he's got some really incredible things about infections and holistic treatments, and he just puts it all on his, his portal. And he only posts to social media, and the only social media he posts on is Instagram. Now he started a podcast and he's been interviewed on other podcasts. So he puts some snippets of his interviews, and he's just got some really interesting things to say about chronic disease, right? But he's got a unique sales proposition in that, especially as we came out of COVID, right? And this is not a this is not a conversation about how we handled COVID. This is just the realities of COVID and how the pandemic, people who believed in the mainstream medical establishment doubled down on that belief. And then people who were like, wait a minute here, some things aren't adding up. I need to, search elsewhere, right? Like, that second type of person found, Dr. Charlie on Instagram. So he's got a huge following of people that had adverse reactions to medications or had, a desire to search naturally for, optimal health. So he got a ton of people coming out of COVID that were already skeptical of the main medical, establishment or the mainstream medical model. And they were searching for someone who's got other information. They found him. He's putting free information on Instagram. He does, 2 or 3 times a week, he does Ask Me Anything questions where he can, on his story, people are asking him questions about, my kid's got a rash all the time. What should I do? And he's like, well, try this vitamin, try this topical. He answers every question that comes in, and it builds value to his brand. But the point is that I'm trying to make is it's depth. He doesn't try to post on YouTube. He doesn't try to post on TikTok, doesn't try to post on Facebook, certainly doesn't post on Twitter, as an active source. Sometimes he posts on Twitter, screenshots it, and then posts that tweet to his Instagram because it just looks better. But by and large, his main method for driving lead generation to his website is through Instagram. That's depth. Everything that he does is through Instagram, and he points it to either book an appointment or become a member. And his appointments, I think, are $400 a session. He's booked out about 4 to 6 months in advance, maybe even longer by now, might be even closer to a year. I'll have to ask him. And that's his model, where you come in a couple times a year to see him in Nashville. And if you want more frequent touch points with him, just pay the $40 a month and be a member, right? Do the math on that. $40 a month times 10,000 people. He's doing just fine. He's doing really, really fine. But the point there is he tried not to just go everywhere, and he went to just the method where his ideal clientele are searching for information, which just so happens to be Instagram, right? So that's an example of depth, right? If you are a generalist and you will take anyone and everyone from cradle to grave, blind, crippled, or crazy, right? 8 to 80, blind, crippled, or crazy, then I would suggest more of an omnipresence model. Now, this is width. This isn't depth. This is width. This is where you have a LinkedIn profile, a Google My Business, a Facebook, a Twitter, where you're everywhere, right? You are everywhere because you have to stand out somewhere, somehow. And if you're just everywhere, then you will be top of mind when someone thinks to go look for a chiropractor, simply because you're everywhere. It's like, the real estate agent that's everywhere, including, in the urinal, in the bathroom, at the bar, right? Like, the real estate agent that is just everywhere is typically who you think of contacting when you go to, sell your house or buy one. The same could be said for a generalist. If you don't have a USP, if you'll just take anyone and everyone, then I would say, then you've got to be everywhere. If you're going to take everyone, then you've got to be where everyone is, which is exhausting, right? That means you do have, there are some tools and some resources that you can use, like Hootsuite, where you can post once on Hootsuite and it goes to all of your platforms. But that's a paid service. So there are things that you can use to amplify your engagements. And so that's an example of width. If again, just to wrap that up, if you have a unique sales proposition, like you only deal with concussion, I would consider find the platform where people who suffer with concussions are most active. And for me, there's probably, I mean, I hate to say it's Instagram or TikTok, because there's a lot of people on TikTok that are just absorbing chiropractic information. Mostly it's adjusting, but Instagram for me appears to be the number one place to actually put information out and have that come back in the form of a new lead, right? If you're going to be everywhere, if you're going to treat everyone, then you got to be everywhere. So I hope that's helpful. That's width versus depth in establishing a personal brand. All right. Any thoughts on that, Mary or Josh?
I think, yep, I have thoughts. I'm not ready to formulate them out loud.
It's okay. That is okay. I appreciate the honesty, Mary. I do. Josh, did you have any questions or a question that you wanted to, get my eyes or ears on?
So just picking like one platform and then just kind of going in as far as in regards to depth, just only operating on that platform. I've tried to hit a couple different ones, Facebook, etc., but it makes sense. Then I don't know, it can be overwhelming if you're try to manage all that information on the different platforms. So I think that like just going into one and focusing on that and managing that is a good idea. I had a question, when you start using your things like InfoSoft or whatever, where you're using it to like send your report to email your report to your potential client and then following up with them, how like much time does it take to set up that type of a system where you're using AI to, take that information and then follow up with your report? And then like how involved are you in that process with your potential clients? Because if you're hitting a lot of people and you're getting a lot of potential leads and reports going out, how time consuming is it to manage all that?
Okay, so help me understand, or help clarify the question. Are you asking, was there two parts to that question? The first part was, how long did it take me to set up the system? And then the second part of it is, how much do I still have to like dive into? Am I understanding you right?
Yeah, I guess it's two questions. My first one would be like, how long would it take to set up that system?
Well, thankfully, I set it all up for you. So if you ever want to become an Infusionsoft or a Keep member, I don't know how much, because of my clients on the list, I pay less than $300 a month. I think I pay like $285 a month for Midwest, because I've got 7,600, 7,650. I don't exactly know how many clients we have, just under 7,700 clients in our database, which are past attendees or people that have opted into our marketing lead magnets, right? So not everyone has attended a class with us, but I still follow up with them and they still get the Midwest Monday email every Monday, right? So there are campaigns inside of Keep that that I wrote from scratch. There's one campaign where, there's one campaign that has 15 emails. Each email took me about an hour. Then the actual structure of the campaign, kind of making things, time-based and when to have things, like then that took me probably another 2 to 3 hours. So all in with setup, with everything, I'm probably at about 20 hours per campaign. And I think there's about 25 campaigns inside of my Keep account right now. So do the math on that. So one of the things I'm working on is how can I share my campaigns with you? Like how can I save you the 50, plus well over 50, like well over 250 hours. How can I save you guys? All you have to do is go in and input your clinic name and replace, Dr. Earl with, Dr. Do I say your name right? Dr. Schreiner? Is that how you say your name? I just want to make sure, be respectful,
Yeah, some people call it a lot of different things, but it's long and it's German, and you pronounce it right.
Oh, good. For whatever reason, my gut always, I'm pretty accurate when it comes to pronouncing people's names. My gut, I have to stick with the gut, right? Otherwise, I'll make like a complete butchery of someone's name. But no, I think one of the things I'm working on, which I will be discussing at the December 2nd and 3rd business class here in Chattanooga, is all of the resources that I have. How could I turn that into basically like a functional rehab agency where like you don't have to reproduce everything that I've already built. You could just take what I have and then refine it, right? And then make it personalized to your clinic. So rather than spending 15 hours on one campaign, why don't you spend 1 hour and all you're doing is changing the name? Change maybe a little bit of the terminology if you don't like what I say, and you're not going to hurt my feelings. But the actual structure of it, timing wise, tags, I don't know if you know much about Infusionsoft. There is a bit of a learning curve to just understand like what a tag is, what a goal is. But I learned all that in about 2 or 3 hours of like setup time and just watching some YouTube videos. But that's all in the setup, right? That's kind of in the background systems. And the beauty is that it's all automated. So the second now that someone goes to my website and fills out a back pain report, which they always do, this is why I get leads between 8 p.m. happens every month. I run a report to see how many people fill out a web form on our website, right? Between the hours of, let's say, 7 p.m. and 4 a.m., right? Over half of the web forms that we get come between the hours that you're closed, because that's when people hurt. And they go to the web, they go to their computer, they pull up their phone. Most of them are on phones, by the way, because they're hurting, so they're in bed. They're not near their computer. They roll over, they grab their phone, they start looking chiropractor near me. They go to your website. Let's just say I'm down the road from you. They go to your website. They probably fill out a form that says like, book an appointment now, and like, we'll get in touch with you. They go to my website and it says, hey, here's a low back pain guide. We'll send it right to your inbox right now. Well, I'd love if I could get some relief right now so I could sleep. So I send them my back pain guide, and they get it in their email within minutes of filling out the form. So they're getting information to make a decision, and I get a lead. So when I wake up or my team wakes up, they have an email already in their inbox that says, you have a task that's been assigned to you. Please call this person. Here's what they have going on. How do we get the information? It's based on the form that they filled out. So I'm not sitting there typing up an email. It says, hey, Sarah, hey, Jen, hey, Chewy. And like, I have to tell my team to call this person. It's all automated. And that is part of their daily huddle, daily onboarding. We check the email to see how many web forms came in, because that's a priority. If we have our team show up at 8 o'clock, that huddle is done by 8:10. By 8:15, front desk is on the phone calling all the people that filled out a web form in the night. And I did none of it. I get on the phone when I see the web form has come through in midday. When it comes through midday, I don't want them to wait until the next business day's huddle, right? Because time is king. Someone fills out a form, but they have to wait until the very next day, right? Let's say someone fills out a web form at 3 p.m. and they have to wait until 8:15 the next morning to get a call. It's too late. I mean, even just look at the news. Like 15 minutes ago, whatever happened in the world, 15 minutes ago, it's irrelevant. Forget about what happened last Friday. No, maybe last Friday is a bad example, but there's definitely world news going on right now. But imagine Imagine things over. That's why the government typically releases information on Friday evening at 5 p.m. because they know that it's going to get buried in all of the weekend news, and Monday's going to roll around and people are going to be like, oh yeah, I forgot that that even happened. Right. So I don't want people to fill out a web form and then all of a sudden have to wait 6, 8, 10, 12 hours to get a call from my team. So if I see that it comes through, I make sure that someone has reached out to them. Hey, so a form just came through. Just want to make sure you gave them a call. What did they say? When are they coming in? That's my management style, because I know it's human nature to be like, oh, I'll get to that web form when I get to it. No, like that's a priority, because that person is sitting at their home or their work and they're miserable or they're suffering. We can't wait. We got to call them. We got to call them. Right. And I catch people off guard a lot when I see that it comes through. Let's say Sarah's out of town because she travels a bit. Let's say she's out of town. I've got the office phone. I see a web form come through and I shoot them a text. I got a this is actually what I do. I got a pre-typed out text that said, hey, I saw your web form. This is Dr. Earl from Active Health and Restoration. Saw that your web form just came through. Do you have a minute where I can give you a quick call to dive in a little deeper about what you're going through? I don't say I need you to book an appointment. I don't say, can I call you? I just say, do you have a minute? I'd like to call you to talk a little bit more in depth, dive a little deeper about what you're going through. Nobody's ever said no. Some people have not responded to a text, which is fine. They do answer the phone when I call. But I text almost as soon as I see the web form comes through and they respond right away. If they respond right away, I just pick up the phone and say, hey, I've got a quick minute. Can I give you a call? And then once they pick up the phone and they answer my call, the game becomes, can I convert them from a prospect to a new, or from a new lead to a prospect? The prospect is getting on the calendar for either a discovery visit or a new patient evaluation. And then from there, my providers have to be the ones that fulfill on the appointment, right? Man, he's friendly, doc. He's interested in you. That's great. So yeah, I hope that answers your question kind of just on a timeline. If you're going to consider something like Keep, which it's called Keep, it used to be called Infusionsoft. There is another one out there that I'm working on. I'm working on learning a little bit more on how I can share it, because Keep, I don't think is the friendliest software to share, but there is another one I'm working on that I could actually go into your account and I could drop all of my campaigns into your account, and I can tweak them, I can edit them, I can run reports to see your open rate, to see your leads. The thing I do like about Keep, though, and this might creep you out a little bit, Mary, but I knew when I started the cohort call, I knew that eventually Mary would be on this call. I knew it. And you want to know how I knew it, Mary? Is because the software that I use, it gives me your engagement. So when I send out emails, I see who opens up the email. I see what links people click on. And I see, well, usually it's the first link. And I see people who respond. Obviously, it comes back in the form of an email. So Mary has responded to emails asking for replays. Mary's opened up almost every email. Almost, not all of them. But my point there is, I could tell that Mary was in the hopper. I could tell that eventually Mary would be a part of my world. I just wasn't going to give up on her. And I do the same with patients. So on Fridays, we send an email out that's called our 5-Bullet Friday. It's 5 bullets I find fascinating, I find interesting, or I find humorous. I just send them out. I type it up. I was like, here's a book I'm reading. Here's a coffee I'm drinking. Just things that make me relatable to my patient base. Okay. And one of them is almost always clinical. Here's a little method to my madness. One of them is clinical. So this past week, I put a paper that had been published about exercise postpartum and safe return to exercise in the postpartum population. Okay, if you've just had a baby, you're clicking on that. And then if you click on it, I see that you clicked on it. Then the follow-up comes. We have about 1,800 past patients in our, we have a whole nother account for Keep that's with our clinic. And we have about 1,800 emails in that account, okay? Some people have dropped off. Let's just say there's 1,000 people, maybe 1,200, 12 to 1,300 people actually open the email. Okay. But how many people click on the thing that I want them to click on? There's about 20 men that clicked on it, or 20 women. Sorry, these river gnats or whatever. This thing is driving me nuts here. Got them. Okay. So 20 people, whether it's, like me wanting information to give my wife who gave birth 2 months ago, or whether it's a woman that read the email is like, oh, I don't feel the same after I gave birth. I want to read this article. I click on it. Now Active Health sees that, Jane Doe has just clicked on it. And we see the list of people. We pull a list of people that clicked on that specific link, which we can see inside of Keep. Then we send them an email that says, hey, I saw that you were looking at the postpartum exercise. Is everything okay? Are you 100%? That's a great question. Are you 100% recovered from your postpartum state, or, from your delivery? Here's another one. Are you able to jump on a trampoline? Because if you've had any, pelvic floor issues, or if there's any incontinence, or there's any tearing that's occurred, sorry to be graphic, if there's any issues after pregnancy and labor, that would be helpful, right? Do you have to cross your legs when you sneeze? These are all questions that if you've got, pelvic floor issues, you are kind of laughing that we're asking questions that there's some leakage, which is not normal, right? So we ask these questions in an email to elicit a response. Once we get a response, then we know it's just a matter of time before we get them on a text or a call. If we get them on a call, then we can talk about that internal emotional driver and book an appointment. So the game is lead generation. If I send an email out on a Friday, then on Monday or absolutely Tuesday at the latest, my team are reaching out to the 30 to 40 people that clicked on the clinical thing. And there's our follow-up. We follow up with those 30 to 40 people. I've just told you, the secrets on the inside of the marketing world. So now the next time you see an email and you're like, oh, this email has a hyperlink on it, are they tracking me? The answer is yes. The best in the world, they track everything that you click on. And in an interesting way, I can actually set up an automated email campaign. So I do this, sometimes I do this for my Black Friday offer, where I will send out an email that says, Black Friday deal is live. Check this out, 50% off this class, or 50% off that, whatever. Whatever the offer is, I just put it out there, okay? And if you click on the actual link, that applies a specific tag, and you go into an entirely specific campaign for the Black Friday deal, which means if you didn't click that link, you won't be getting my emails for the next 24 to 48 hours during Black Friday. Right? So it's like Black Friday through Cyber Monday. If you click on my first email, you'll probably get maybe 8 to 12 emails from me. But if you don't click on that first email, you won't get any of them. So you won't see any of the perks, any of the cool offers that we've got. You won't see any of them because you didn't click the original one that put you into the campaign. And all that's automated. So even on my birthday, right? Here's a good example. On my birthday, I put out the birthday offer, all those courses and information for $35 because I just turned 35, right? I was in Knoxville coaching soccer all day, right? But I had it all automated. I had ManyChat lined up for my Instagram. So all the people that commented birthday on my Instagram post, they got it immediately routed through an AI bot that went directly to a landing page where they can capture, or I could capture their $35 payment and they get access to my courses. But at the end of the day, I had no clue how many people paid. No clue well, I did at the end because I looked it up, but I had no clue throughout the day. And my system, my software, my bots and my automated systems, they communicated with everyone, and I didn't. I was off coaching U10 soccer and enjoying life with my son, not sitting there glued to my phone, which I've done in the past, admittedly. So I don't know. By the way, I'm not bragging. These are things that I've just had to learn. Right. These are things that people do way better than I'm not perfect at it. There are, holes in my, marketing bucket that I need to, plug up pretty quickly. But I feel like my birthday offer and the Black Friday deal, I've got pretty locked down, pretty tight. And I'm pretty, I'm proud of it. If I could say that, I'm pretty proud of the systems and the auto responders and whatnot that I have in place. Again, it's not perfect. Every once in a while, someone falls through the cracks. Which I get really annoyed about. But at the end of the day, I'm not sitting there glued to my phone or my computer responding to all these emails, all these DMs. Like, I've got systems for it in place now. So I don't know, is that helpful to kind of go through, Josh, Mary?
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. It's one of the things like you try and duplicate yourself, right? So that you can accomplish more. And this just seems like an efficient way where you're not just digging through all those email leads that may potentially come from your book an appointment now listing on your website.
Yeah, I just went through this with several people where I put a small hurdle for prospects to jump over, and some people, 10% of them, they're not willing to jump over a hurdle. They just want the quick fix. But when I ask them to fill out a web form, that's a hurdle, right? Because people are used to immediate or instant gratification. We are not in the instant gratification business, right? If I wanted instant gratification, all right, I could go to a vending machine and get a Coke, and I would be instantly, satisfied for that craving in that moment. However, healthcare is not the same. We think that if I hurt, I can just take a pain pill and I'll be better. But I think I can say this, that just masks the symptoms. That doesn't actually go after the underlying cause. I'm not talking infections where like it's actually pretty helpful to have an antibiotic, right? But at the same time, if I hurt because I'm physically moving, it's mechanical in nature, and I rely on chemically mediated, supplements or chemically mediated pills. I think, that's my personal view, I think that that's a means to an end, because you'll only develop tolerance to it and a lack of tolerance to the movement. So I'm obviously movement oriented, movement biased. So I think that if you communicate in a way that you are solving the underlying problem, or at least getting as close to the underlying root cause, right? I think that you have a fundamental different leg to stand on than someone who is simply saying, come on in, we'll get you fixed up real quick. So therefore, we are in the delayed gratification business. So how can I nurture someone if they are expecting a quick fix, but I don't provide quick fixes? In fact, I try not to use the word fix at all, because ultimately what we want is we want to change someone's life for the better. We want them to live an active and healthy lifestyle, which means they are going to have to make some lifestyle changes. And if you are going to encourage someone to make lifestyle changes, then your words and your ability to listen to what's going on in their life are absolutely of paramount importance. Because we can't just walk in and go, here's why your back hurts. It's because you bent over this way. You're doing your deadlift this way. Don't do it that way. You fool. Come on over on the table. Let me adjust you. Side posture, side posture. See you later. Make sure you pay your copay on the way out. You will get a lot of people well with that model. You will. Like, it's just a lot of chiropractors do it. You will also find yourself constantly adjusting the same things on the same patients over and over again, wondering when it's ever going to change, if you care. Like, if there's a lot of chiros as well that are perfectly fine adjusting the same segments over and over again for years, if not decades. That's just not my style. So I think if you communicate in a way that you provide instant gratification, then you will constantly get patients that fly into your practice and fly out. You can't really build business systems around patients that fly in and fly out. The quicker they come in, the quicker they leave. That's one of my rules. So I slow it down. They're used to calling up and saying, do you take my insurance? When's your next appointment? And I'm like, hold on a second here. I just went through this with a lady this morning. Hold on a second. Let's slow this down. Before I offer you our next new patient appointment, let's just make sure we're a good fit for one another. Because if you're looking to get adjusted and be back in your car in 3 minutes, this isn't the clinic for you. If you're looking for 30 to 45 minutes of intentional, individualized one-on-one care that may or may not include adjusting, that may or may not include dry needling, may or may not include specific stretches that are tailored to your goals, we're the place for you. Which one do you like? Which one do you prefer? And which one do you think helps you get to your goals? So even if they know nothing about me, I still talk to them like this, because I don't want people showing up to our clinic thinking that we're a high volume, rack 'em and crack 'em, like every chiropractor is the same, right? So this is my way of setting the expectations on that first call. Excellent. Excellent. Mary, we got a couple minutes here. Thank you for hopping on today's call. Josh, as always, you're very constant and very loyal. I appreciate that. This is a topic, though, that I will be discussing in December. So if you guys would like to join, we are almost sold out. The venue can hold 24 people. I'll be the 25th person. And we are, I believe, at 22 or 23. So we are very close to selling out. And the best part is I haven't even really marketed it to like non-members and people outside of my direct sphere of influence. So I'm leaving 2 or 3 seats open right now, so that when I start marketing to, on social media and whatnot, that there's actually space for people that would like to join, that know nothing about our coaching, our consulting, or our education opportunities. So if you guys know anyone that would be that runs their own practice and is looking to grow themselves and grow their business, then I would appreciate if you could connect me with them so I can invite them to the event in December. Any closing comments, questions, or key takeaways that either of you have, Mary or Josh?
I like how you can delegate a lot of your tasks away. I aspire to that.
Well, it's been a process. It's not been something that I just was able to do overnight. And I do want to clarify that I dive back in unnecessarily. My wife can attest to this. I dive back in unnecessarily all the time. So I do enjoy a good delegation, but a delegation is only as good as the accountability that follows it. And that's one area, if I'm going to be honest, one area of my leadership style that I need to improve on, especially, with the next group of people that are coming in to work for me. It is having the courage to have those accountability conversations after delegation has occurred. Because my standards, I think I said this last week, my standards are up here for myself, but I realize that most people don't have those standards for themselves. So when I'm delegating something, I have to clearly articulate to them that this is to be done at my standards. This is not to be done at your standards. So if you do this to your standards, we're going to have a conversation about the conversation, and we're not going to have a conversation about how this was done not to my expectation. Because someone also, I don't know if I've not mentioned this before, I'm sorry, because this will probably be the key takeaway for me today, because it's a good reminder. Someone recently told me at one of my own mastermind events that I was attending, where I was describing expectations of staff. And my own coach said that having an expectation of someone are the lowest possible standards. I'll let that simmer for a minute. Having expectations of others is the lowest possible standards. So not to be cynical, but I assume when I delegate, people don't actually know what I want. I assume when I delegate that most people are incompetent. I mean, I hate to say it. So I will actually treat someone like they don't know what they're doing until they show me that they can do exactly what I want. Excellent. Josh, any key takeaways?
It's good to know Infusionsoft and Keep. I've been kind of looking into that, and it's just like, man, this task seems like it would take a while, but yeah, it's good information to know on that. I mean, it makes sense, and like if I can use systems to have me be able to more efficiently like manage my time, then that just makes sense.
Yep.
100% to me. So like, it's a good system. So it's good to know that information.
I would say one of the just be mindful of your microphones because sometimes I hear echo and my ADD kicks in and I start listening to myself. So I would say if you're considering Infusionsoft, like let's set up another call on the side and I'll walk you through kind of the things to be made aware of. If you'd like, we could do that because there are definitely some things that I wish somebody had told me before I started, and I'd love to kind of provide a little guardrail or some advice before you launch that. The other thing is if you're interested, you can go to my website and you can opt into all of the back pain report, the back pain, knee pain, shoulder pain, and you can opt in and just get those free reports directly to your inbox like you'd be a patient. And I give you free reign to copy and paste them on your own website. I mean, I can even email you my back pain reports if you'd like. And I wrote them like maybe 4 or 5 years ago, so they need to be updated anyways. But I hope you read it through the lens of, Dr. Earl, the clinician in Carroll Stream, Illinois, right? Don't read a back pain report that was not written for other chiropractors. This is not a back pain report about everything I know about clinical rehabilitation and back pain. It's not written for you. It's written for someone who's suffering with back pain, right? And so you have to get inside the mind and the suffering of someone with back pain, and that's where the writing came from. So if you want, I can send that to you if you'd like. And because that's your lead magnet, that's what people will opt into and receive. So if I could send you my 6 or 8, I don't even know how long it is because it's been forever ago since I looked at it, but people still opt into it. So it's helpful information. But if you'd like to, I can share that with you. Just either type into the chat, or you could, if you're watching a replay of this, just shoot me an email that says, send me the low back pain guide, and I'll email it to you free of charge. It is my gift that you can repurpose, no problem. All right. Excellent, guys. I gotta hop off here. I'm gonna just tap this over until next week, same time next week. I appreciate you guys being flexible about the time change for the week. I think we'll keep it at this time moving forward.